Vegas nerd girl.
What's up, everybody? Myra here, and welcome to a safe space between friends where we get real about the highs, the lows, and everything else in between. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to kind of address safety and what does that mean? What does that mean in definition? What does that mean in theory? What does that mean in life, right? In practice.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay. So I Googled safety just to be on the safe side that I had the right definition. And it says that safety is defined, this is Merriam Webster. Safety is defined as the state or condition of being safe, freedom from hurt, injury, or loss, protective device to prevent accidental operations. So, and in that regard, it's talking about like a gun or something, the safety connected to a weapon. But that's the definition of safety. We also wanted to start today with, because we we are approaching this with God on our minds and our spirits, and so we want to just include a Bible verse um, for this topic, and we are coming from Psalms 91 verses 1 and 2 that says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust." Verse 4, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your rampart." So we all know that the safest place we could ever be is with God in the
Amen.
arms of the Lord, no matter what's going on in our lives. That's where we run to. That's where we should run to first. Um, and that's on a spiritual level. When it comes to the emotional, physical, we want to talk more about safety in that regard and what it means as we go through this journey as counselors. We understand that there is a need for safety, and it's one of the main needs. As just living in this world, we all search for some type of safety, and so I'm gonna let Nikki take it from here, talking about Mr. Dr. Maslow.
Yeah. So a lot of us I mean, I feel like psychology has become such part of pop culture. Half makes me proud, half makes me cringe. Um, but I think Maslow's name, or at least the hierarchy of needs, is somewhat, people may be familiar with at least the name of it. If you don't, I encourage you to look him up. Abraham Maslow is his name. And basically, he theorized, or his belief was that we have levels of needs. So we have our basic needs, and it's those basic needs fall in the physiological needs that we have first. So our food, our shelter, a place to be able to just kind of call our own, if you will, to where we can escape the elements, right? Because think about being primitive. It was about escaping the elements. For our ancestors, it was about a cave, right? So that would have been that physiological need, that water that replenishes us. I like how Maslow also includes rest. I think he was ahead of his time when, because we tend to get past that part. But resting is a physical need that we have, just like providing nourishment. And then it goes into the other basic needs. So once those physical needs are met, it goes into the basic needs of the safety needs of like security, and just feeling safe. That could also be a physical need too, where we're not being like abused, right, or being battered. But it could also mean more of an emotional place where we can feel free to be ourselves, if you will, not necessarily in a social setting, but just in general. Just feeling safe enough to say, yeah, I can express myself.
Mhm.
And then it goes into like that feeling of belongingness, because we can't feel like we belong to other people or love other people intimately if we can't have that security need met in our vulnerabilities, right?
Mhm.
If we can't be our authentic self, then we can't, we're not going to be able to relate or allow someone else to relate to us in an intimate way, whether that's whatever that intimacy looks like, whether it's a romantic partner or a coworker, whatever you're trying to create with someone, whatever reciprocal relationship. And then it goes into like some more of those psychological needs as well. So some of those esteem needs, those feelings of accomplishments. And then it goes into those self-fulfillments. So basically what Maslow is saying is that before we can ever even believe in ourselves, we have to be able to feel replenished physically. Then we have to be able to feel secure in who we are and feel like we have those safe attachments. Then we can start actually fulfilling our purpose. Then we can actually start thriving in life. So safety is the very foundation for us being able to fulfill who God has in store for us. And I think if we take it to the spiritual realm, like we did, I think that is one way that the enemy is allowed to get to us. It distracts us by our needs. Because if we have, come on, Lord, in my own life, when there's not a need met, it knocks you down. So it don't matter how many skills you have. Like here, I have been an expert for 20 years, and it doesn't matter if I don't have those basic needs met, right? If I don't have that shelter, I can't thrive. Doesn't matter how skilled or what experience. You still have to meet that hierarchy, as he refers to.
Very good. I was just sitting here thinking about times when I felt unsafe.
Okay.
And one, I remember being very vulnerable, just being a single parent.
Yes.
Not really knowing what to do. My husband passed away, and just being honest, he was my safety, but when he died and I had a baby and a 2-year-old, I didn't know what to do or even how to live, because I wasn't sure if I could do it. And I didn't feel safe. I felt scared. I felt very, very afraid of messing up my life, their lives. And I remember once and living alone. I had never really lived alone.
That's a big one too. Yeah.
Right. Just, and I remember, I don't know if y'all believe in this or not, but this is my experience. I remember praying that asking God to protect me and keep me.
Yes.
And one night I had a dream, and in the dream outside of my apartment, on the front doors, there were these angels. They were so large, they went into the sky, and they were on either side of my door. And then to the back of me, in the back of the house, because I didn't have a back door, it was one way in, one way out.
Oh, even more so.
Right. But on my back windows, there were 2 more angels.
Come on, Myra.
And from that day, I never, ever felt afraid living by myself. I felt safe that God was going to keep me, like he said, like he promised, and I've never been afraid since, because I believe I still have those angels, and one of my favorite scriptures that I hold on to is that God, he said he will never leave us or forsake us.
Correct.
There's so much security in that. Even when my life is chaotic, I go back to that promise.
Girl, what you just triggered for me is when, now some of y'all know, when that OG Nikki was sitting back looking at 365 years, waiting to go in front of that judge. I remember one verse, and I was sitting there and I was freezing. Y'all know how a holding cell is, girl. It's cold. And I remember sitting in there cold, and all I could do is, I've commanded you to be strong and brave. Joshua chapter 1:9. I've commanded you to be strong and brave. I am with you wherever you go. And y'all, I put myself there, and he was still with me.
Still with you.
I put myself there and he was still with me. So fast forward 30, 35 years. We ain't gonna keep dating myself, but fast forward all them decades. And there's times that I'm sitting there and I'm feeling lost again. And I'm thinking, all this time I've been listening to you. And now I would just feel broken and lost again. What am I supposed to do with this? I feel like I did what I was supposed to do. And now I feel like I've messed all this up again, even though I had no control over some of those circumstances. And I'm reminded of that same scripture, of that same holding cell. But this current holding cell I didn't put myself in.
Wow.
So he was there for me when I put myself there, right? He's not going to forsake me when I didn't. And that's what I have to ever. And that's what I have to keep telling. We can never mess up the glory of God. We can never mess up our fear, our lack of safety. Nothing is too broken for him. And he is clear. He is solely where I find refuge. We were talking about before we started. Thank you for being so vulnerable with your experiences as a single mom.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you too. That's big.
When you mentioned, Myra, if you don't mind me commenting on your experience, when you were mentioning like just losing your husband, that just rocked your entire plan, right? On top of being a single mom now, a widowed, not a single mom, you're a widowed mom now, right? And at that time, let's remember, you weren't therapist Myra then. Right? So you didn't have that skill set that you now know you have. What a vulnerable Myra.
Yeah, for sure. Not knowing the unknown, the fear that will try to overtake you. But that's why this walk that we're on with Christ, we have to turn to the word. We have to trust God to do exactly what he said, or you will lose it. We can't do this by ourselves. You could not have made it through that time in your life without him. And just that one script, the Bible talks about us having the faith the size of a mustard seed.
Yes.
You had enough faith in that verse.
And that verse was my mustard seed. I have said that for years. It's funny you mentioned that. That's so affirming. I have said that for years. And people say, what is your mustard seed? And it's like, that scripture was my mustard seed. It was the only thing I had. And it was written on a piece of paper that I had wrapped in my hand, that I had actually in my sock. It was contraband. Oh, look how God works.
Wow. A Bible verse is contraband. That's crazy, right?
It was contraband. It sure was.
Wow.
It sure was.
God is good.
And I remember after that, because of anxiety, how anxiety does, you could be cold and anxiety still got you sweating. I remember walking out of there and my hand having the ink, like from that scripture on my hand. And it was, to me, now thinking about that, it's just symbolism.
Absolutely.
How it imprinted. Yeah. Right? That verse imprinted on me. And I've been able to pass that verse along, not just in personal, but in my professional life too. And I think that's where our molding comes in, right? And it's not about us. I mean, I'm sitting here, I act like I'm gloating on myself about a horrible time in my life, but it's not. It's about him. It's about look what he did in this moment where I couldn't do anything. Complete surrender. We're talking about
complete surrender.
Yeah,
that is so good. All right, you guys. So we would be definitely interested in hearing what you have to say about safety, and we've got to get our email. I've got to get it in my brain. Nikki, do you know what our email is? Because I lost it.
Momento, por favor.
Okay.
Let's see here.
We would love to hear from you.
No, we're a work in progress.
Yes,
audience, we're a work in progress. And thank you for allowing us to be us.
Yep.
In this safe space.
And hopefully soon, or at some point, not soon, I'm not going to say soon, but we'll have an Instagram and an Instagram or Facebook or something, but we're just starting out, so we'll see where we go. Okay, you got the
I got it. It's a safe space between friends gmail.com. So all spelled out lowercase, a safe space between friends at gmail.com.
Very good. That's easy enough. I'm glad I made it that simple. Thank goodness.
I'm glad you did too, girl. The other one was a little.
Trying to remember anything else. So I want to thank you for this time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for showing up for us as we show up for you. You want to close us out, Miss Nikki?
Yeah, I just want to say also thank you for allowing us to share our stories, as well as our expertise. We're just trying to be able to create a place to be able to share what the Lord's putting on our hearts, and I think that He did just that today. So I'm just grateful, and thank you again for just your time and your space.
Okay.